Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Good Old Fashioned Wrestling Podcast. My name is Rick Reinhardt. I'm here with Alan Fenstermaker, and today we are going to be rating AEW superstars. We're trying to get the narrative out about what's going on in the world of professional wrestling. We're here to help you help yourself.
Okay, we got a list here of the AEW roster. We're going to be going through the roster one AEW star at a time, and just gonna let you guys know what we think about these AEW superstars. We're gonna start off with good old JR, Jim Ross. Man, I still remember Jim Ross calling WrestleMania 15 Stone Cold versus The Rock. Stone Cold, Stone Cold, Stone Cold. And then, dude, Jim Ross has got to be like one of my favorite commentators of all time. Like just hearing him call some epic matches in WWE, WWF. And what do you got to say about Jim Ross?
I was at that WrestleMania 15, man. That was a crazy show. At the height of all this wrestling stuff too. But I remember Jim Ross in the WCW days back in the day. I always thought he was a great commentator. Like there's not many guys out there that you could say like have embodied their role or their job, and I'd say Jim Ross truly is, one of the greatest pro wrestling commentators of all time, without a doubt. But also just his approach with all this stuff and how he just calls it right down the middle. I don't know, man. I mean, he's definitely one of the best,
Yeah, man, and also we got guys like
we gotta rate him. Oh. So if I was to rate Jim Ross, I would say like this: Jim Ross on this AEW run, because Jim Ross in the past, I'd give him a 10 at everything. Probably his whole career, to be honest. And then I'd say in this AEW run, because he has now embodied the role of a real veteran. I mean, a real diehard when it comes to this stuff. I would give him a 10 for it.
Definitely, I would give good old JR a 10 too, a 10 plus. But the next guy we're getting to is Tony Chavanni. Now, Tony Chavanni is another amazing asset to AEW. What do you got to say, Rick?
I've always liked Tony Schiavone. He was one of my favorites back in the day with NWA and WCW. I always liked his flair. This is the hard part with commentators is commentators are some of the best. I mean, you look at Gorilla Monsoon, you look at Bobby Heenan, you look at Jesse Ventura. You'd have to put Tony Schiavone in that ballpark. I mean, we were talking about this the other day. We were talking about hip hop. Some of these guys are the greatest to ever do it when it comes to hip hop. So it's like that with commentating. I would say that Tony Schiavone for this AEW run, because we have missed Tony Schiavone and WCW's product very much, I would give Tony Schiavone a 9.
Wow. That's a very good one. I'd probably give him about like an 8 or a 9 myself with Tony Schiavone because of who he is. But next up it would be Excalibur. What do you think about him?
Excalibur's been catching a lot of shit from the Cornette cult over in YouTube land, and I gotta say, like, with these guys running the third string, it's like, I liked Scott Hudson. I was a fan of Lee Marshall, or I was a fan of what's his name, Mike Tenay. But with Excalibur, I would say he falls short of those guys very much. I would give him. To be generous, I'll give him a 3.
Yeah, that's fair. Excalibur, I'd probably say maybe a 2 or a 3 tops, because he hasn't really. He caught a lot of heat. But then my next guys, my personal favorite, Taz, I would give this guy a 10. Is Taz, I know, I watched him in WCW, no, not WCW, WWF, WWE, ECW, and Taz definitely could bring it as a commentator and as a wrestler. And I know, I've seen Taz as an instructor on Tough Enough, and yeah, Taz is hardcore to the extreme back from the ECW days. How do you think, Rick?
Taz in ECW was a force to be reckoned with. He got injured when he got to the WWE, and he got his dream by, coming out at Madison Square Garden. So Taz's career is almost backwards, but I guess in the high contact world of professional wrestling, it's like that. It's a young man's game when it comes to being in the ring. So Taz has been able to make a career out of what he's doing, and I'd say he's been a pretty good asset to AEW because some of these guys can't talk, but when you get Taz up there, you believe that he's ready to, clobber somebody's fucking head off or something like that. So I would give Taz a 7 on his AEW run.
Hey, that's cool. All right, next up would be Colt Cabana. What do you think about Colt Cabana?
I'm going to be honest, all right? With some of these guys, I'm actually not that familiar with their work. I may have seen 1 or 2 matches. Colt Cabana, I would say, falls into that category, so it's not really fair for me to give him a rating.
All right, fair enough. And
what about you?
Colt Cabana, I don't really know him that well myself either.
Yeah.
But next one will be, like, when we think AEW, you can't not talk about this guy, Cody Rhodes. Now, Cody Rhodes has really stepped it up in a lot of ways with AEW. In fact, he's the face of AEW. So I'd probably say I'd give him a 10 because, like, all he's doing and all he's done with AEW. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd have to give him a 10. One, because I think everybody's really proud of him. I'd also say because we've needed this competition, or not even competition, just this different lane and different flavor of pro wrestling. We've really needed this. So, I mean, I would give him a 20 for that, just to have the balls to do this and to go all the way with it with, like Ted Turner and all these people. Yeah, I'd give him a 10 plus.
Cool. Now, next up would be another name with AEW, Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega, I would probably give him about a 10 also, too, because you can't, talk about AEW and not mention the name Kenny Omega. Like, him and Cody Rhodes are definitely up there with it. What do you think?
Well,
go ahead.
So, Cornette would...
Yeah, so Cornette would say something along the lines that Kenny Omega has defiled the wrestling business by doing stupid matches and outlaw shit and having sex or having a match with a sex doll or something like that. So that we'll put it like this: that's his rap sheet.
We're up.
All right. So what I'm trying to say, we had a little technical difficulties, but I think we're good now. Cornette would say about Kenny Omega that Kenny Omega has defiled the wrestling business in the past by doing outlaw stuff and by doing a match with a sex doll or something like that. So there's definitely a little bit of he's got a defiling vibe. I haven't seen it that much with AEW, so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt in this situation and give him a clean rating. I know Cornette hates the man, but Cornette, we're still riding with you, homie, all right? I would give Kenny Omega, because of his in-ring work alone and the fact that he was able to be a heel champion, I would give him about a 6.
That's fair enough, man. But what would you say about Chris Jericho? I know, Chris Jericho, I followed his run in WCW, followed his run in WWE, WWF, and him starting the Inner Circle with AEW as well. And what do you have to say about Mr. Jericho?
Man, this is a tough one for me because I'm a Jericho fan from way back. I always liked his work in WCW, and I watched the Thrill Seekers later on. As you go back and you watch the older stuff, you know what I mean, in Smoky Mountain, and they were good, man. Jericho. I saw Jericho get over, and I want to say it was either 97 or 98. But he got over really hard with the fans, and I remember him not getting the push he deserved in WCW. Then I remember him going over to WWF with much anticipation and having the big old entrance, the Y2J thing. And I was happy that he became a world champion over there. I was really happy for him, but it just seems like in this modern day that he's done good with AEW. He's been a legitimate name to be in the main event, but it also seems like with some of the stuff he's got going on outside of the ring and some of his wild swinging in the political realm, that it just seems like Jericho has turned into somewhat of a bitter old wrestler. So I would give Jericho, in that case, I would give him about a 6.
Yeah, no, I could see that. You know, like Jericho, like has done quite of a downfall in AEW, but then also we have other guys like CM Punk. What do you think about him?
So far, just from the crowd response alone and his entrances and everything, I would give CM Punk a 10. I haven't seen much of his work inside the ring since he's been back. I've seen some of it, but you know, just his overall the way they utilized him and everything, I give him a 10.
Yeah, I'd probably give him about the same too, because CM Punk, like, dude, this guy's a controversial guy. Like, I know, like, in some of the stuff he did in WWE and all, and like UFC, and it was kind of cool. You even got to meet CM Punk too over at the ECW arena in Philly. That was, dude, he's a great guy. So I had nothing but respect. Could definitely give him a 10. But next up we got Adam Page.
The Hangman Adam Page, man. I love the gimmick. I don't know if he's the right guy for the gimmick, but it's a good gimmick to say the least. They gave him the belt a little early. You know, he's a little guy, right? Like, how big is he?
Who is that? We're talking about Adam Page.
Yeah.
Let's see how tall he is. Let's Google real quick for that one.
Let's get to the bottom of this, man. You know, just in general, because it's like.
I'm gonna pause it.
Here, I'll talk like it's good to get to the size, you know, the size of these individuals, because, you know, we're seeing guys in the main event that are not as big as they used to be, and I'm just curious because even with a gimmick like that, like Hangman Adam Page, like you'd almost think of like somebody like a Stan Hansen, like, you know, somebody that's big, meaty, and fucking ready to kick some ass. But with Hangman Adam Page, it seems like they gave him this gimmick and it's working. But I think I don't understand why it's working, or I don't really like believe it or something. I don't know.
Let's see, Adam Page right here. It says here he's 6 foot tall.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying, man. It's like he's a point guard or something like that as far as size. I give Adam Page, just because I like him, man. I don't know why. There's something about him that I like. I'd give him a 6.5.
Yeah, okay. Now, like, the next one I'm going to mention is Orange Cassidy. What would you say about Orange Cassidy?
All right, so I know Cornette doesn't like his shit either. He thinks it's bad for the business, but I would say this. With Orange Cassidy, out of everybody that I've seen, that's pretty new, you know. Maybe besides Britt Baker, I would say Orange Cassidy's got something. I'm going to give Orange Cassidy a 7.
Ooh, yeah, I know. Like, I met him the one time over at the ECW arena, and when I interviewed him, and it's got a lot of hits. He got a lot of people calling him freshly squeezed. It's up to like 5,000 views already, and Orange Cassidy, like, he's a man of few words, but he's definitely going places. So next up,
what would you rate him?
I'd probably rate him about a 7.
Yeah.
Yep. So next up, we got Sammy Guevara.
Ooh. All right, now this is another interesting one, because I keep talking about Cornette because Cornette's the one that's actually saying the most right now out of everybody. But he likes Sammy Guevara, and you know he said the kid's got something, and it's like once he says that, it's like that gives the assurance for me to be like, yeah, like, you know what, I kind of like this dude too. So I'm gonna give Sammy Guevara. I'm gonna give him a 7.
Okay. Now, like, the next one, let's see, Sammy Guevara, I'd give him probably like about a 6. And then you got the Jurassic Express. What would you say about them?
All right, so first off, who's in the Jurassic Express one time?
Jurassic
Can you
Express.
look that up for me?
Yeah, just looking up.
And this is what we're talking about. With some of these new guys, it's hard to remember exactly what they're doing. Like, I could see the Jurassic Express in my head.
Lucha Soros.
Yeah.
And the Jungle Boy.
I'm really glad I asked about this. All right, so Lucha Soros, I've seen him steal the show at certain AEW shows on TV. So I'm going to rate these guys individually instead of as a tag team. I'm going to give Luchasaurus an 8 from what I've seen, as in potential, you know. Not necessarily that he's an 8, like he's, you know, he deserves to be in the main event right now, but he's good, man. He's one of the new good guys to watch out for. Jungle Boy, he's gotten a lot of, you know, airtime. He's a memorable looking guy. But I just don't know if he's going to cut it in AEW. I'll give him a 4.
Okay, now.
Back after some technical difficulties, and yeah, so I'm not sure where we left it. Like, how would you rate Luchasaurus or Jungle?
Familiar with them, but yeah, like any of the luchadors, they are definitely like big in the high flying maneuvers, and I'm definitely a fan of the luchador style, so I'd probably give them about like I don't really know them, but if their style, yeah, if their style is anything like if the style is anything like any of the other luchadors, I'd probably say like about maybe like 8. One wrestler that I know is in AEW that is definitely going places. He's Brian Pillman Jr. And Brian Pillman Jr. has been making a lot of waves in wrestling. And in fact, he was the Pro Wrestling Archives Wrestler of the Year. In the same year, he was Pro Wrestling Illustrated Wrestler of the Year. I give Brian Pillman Jr. a 10, hands down.
Yeah, so he was the Pro Wrestling Archives Wrestler of the Year, and then the Pro Wrestling Illustrated Rookie of the Year. And I think he won that twice, 2 years in a row, which is kind of funny. All right, so this is what I'll say about Pillman Jr. in AEW so far. I've seen that when they give him the mic, he is willing to cut some good promos. I mean, he's willing to really talk about his life, you know what I mean? And that's a beautiful thing. So I would say he's got the look, he's got the promo, his in-ring work is still getting better, but he's got something. So if they utilize him right, I would give him in AEW so far, I would give him a 7, but with the potential to be a 10 if the company knows how to utilize him right.
Yeah, no doubt. But honestly, I think Pillman Jr. should do the loose cannon gimmick, and I think that's how he would get over, because he's talking about a lot about paying homage to his pops and all lately, and I think that would be awesome to see him do the loose cannon gimmick.
You know, at this point, I'm trying to figure out what I would do if I was booking AEW and I had Brian Pillman Jr. on the card. I would probably make him into like a heartthrob main eventer. If I was Tony Khan, I would probably do that. I'd let him not go Heartbreak Kid, but you know, Pillman Jr.'s own version of what he thinks it could be, because he just has the look on some whole other level shit than anybody else I've seen in AEW. Real quick before we go, is there anybody else you want to mention? Jon Moxley, somebody I wanted to mention right now. If I had to rate Jon Moxley, and I know he's like getting all this crazy TV time and whatever, I'm giving Jon Moxley a 1.
Yeah, I know. Like Jon Moxley's taking a lot of heat. I know. Like I kind of like his style in AEW a lot better than WWE. As Dean Ambrose, I'd probably say he'd be more like a 6, but yeah, mainly because he does have the intensity to do it, and he could definitely bring it. But all right, so I guess this is all we got for tonight. So Rick, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
I'm thinking about Brook Baker right now, and I'm just giving her a 10 because she's good.
Definitely give her a 10, especially her match with Thunder Rosa, also another 10 that I would have to say, because they put together one hell of a hardcore match that you never see anymore in wrestling, it seems.
Chris Statlander, if you're out there and you want to, you know, I'll give you a 10, all right?
Cool, man. So I guess that's about it. You have anything else you'd like to say?
I'm trying to think if there's anybody else that like we have to talk about. Like if we're doing this rating system. Well, we got to talk about MJF.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't talk about him. And I thought about, like, the Inner Circle we should mention, too. The Inner Circle, I'm just going to go off and just give him, like, a 3. I thought it was, like, a little lackluster. What do you think?
I'd probably say about the same, like, about a 3, because the Inner Circle, I know, like, AEW, like, there are a lot of groups. So there's not really any single breakout stars. That's what I think AEW needs, is some single breakout stars.
And now we're here to MJF. I'm going to give MJF an 8 with the potential to be a 10.
Yeah, I'd probably give him about like a 9, but I know like he definitely I could see a lot of potential in him, and I know a lot of people compare him to The Miz. I think MJF is better than The Miz, way better than The Miz.
The Miz sucks.
Yeah, The Miz sucks.
And this will bring us to another future episode where we rate the WWE guys, but yes, The Miz, we feel here at the Pro Wrestling Archives, kind of sucks.
Yep. And that's all we got for tonight. Good night.